Good morning, TGIF. It is a blustery Friday morning as we're getting the, what do you call it? Like the bands from Dorian sort of going through. We're not supposed to get a lot of rain right here in Central Virginia. It is going to stay in the southeast and eastern part of the state, but we are getting wind. And of course, the wind always kind of freaks me out because of the trees. So the winds, I knew the winds were going to start last night. So since this is the lower floor, it's a tri-level. There's this, and then there's where the kitchen and dining room and living room are, and then the bedrooms are above here. And so I guess this is kind of the safest place in the house for like anything that might like fall on the house. So this opens up into a twin bed. So I set myself up to sleep down here, but I did not sleep well because the wind kept going by, and especially when those gusts get going. Although they're supposed to get worse. Fun. They're supposed to get worse for a little while during the day, and then they will start to die down, I guess, this afternoon, which means that I should sleep better tonight or something. So I set up to sleep down here. Didn't sleep much. Avery kind of came down and went, "What are you doing down here?" Because what she does is sometimes she falls asleep in my bedroom. Sometimes she'll fall asleep in the living room and stay on the chair in there, and then I'll hear her come down here at some point in the middle of the night. And so when I went to bed last night, oops, sorry about that, she was up there, and so at one point she came down here just going, "This is weird. What are you doing down here?" So it's always pretty freaky with the trees. And I looked outside, one of my really tall Jerusalem artichokes is like completely knocked over. I had a stake in with it, but the stake, because of the clay out there, I was never able to get the stake in hard enough, or the stake might have broken with the force because it was a really, really tall Jerusalem artichoke. So that's fine. I'll go out there and I won't pull it out, but I'll cut it part of the way down to see if it can still bloom a little bit and leave it in there until it might have some tubers to dig up, which none of them have bloomed yet. So I suspect that I should wait for them to bloom before I start digging up any tubers on those. And so I was out front working yesterday morning. I guess it was morning. I was out doing something in the morning in the garden. In the afternoon, I planted some pansies and nasturtium seeds and put some more wood chips around. But one of my neighbors who walks, Avery does not like this man. And I have to say, I don't know, there's something about him. He's kind of like, socially unskilled, and there's something about him that just, doesn't feel real good. No, I don't think he's a threat or anything like that. It's just something that doesn't feel good. So Avery always barks at this guy, always barks. And he has an issue with boundaries too. He'll start like walking onto the yard, and she doesn't like that at all. So we were talking about and I always try to make conversation, even though I know that conversations with this guy always end up being like kind of negative, but I try to be polite and I try to be a nice neighbor. So I have issues with keeping my own boundaries, So anyway, we started talking about stuff, and I was talking about the storm, and I was talking about the trees, and he said, "Oh, I've spent thousands of dollars on my trees, oh, these trees." And it's like, yeah, it is an expense living on a lot with big trees. And I was talking about, well, there's a few more I might get out, a couple of pines, and I pointed out the tulip poplar that's between my house and my neighbor. That is like taller than anything else, but the canopy is way up high. It doesn't seem like a structurally sound tree. So he says, and he of course he walks onto the yard and he's looking, and then I said something about the storm, and he said, yeah, well, a tree like that, it could kill you. And it's like, and I said, you don't need to tell me that. I don't need to hear that. He said, well, if that falls down, it'll crush your house in two. And if you're inside, and it's like, why are you even, who would say that to somebody? Who would say that, oh, that tree that you have standing there, it might kill you. I was like, and so I was like, thanks. I needed to hear that. So that kind of fed into my, maybe I'll sleep downstairs. But yeah, like my neighbor across the street, my neighbor Sally, she doesn't care for him either. It's just, yeah, it's weird. So anyway, that kind of started things off in a weird sort of way yesterday, but that's all right. We'll make it through. What else is going on? I started to do some painting, kind of along the lines of my drawings, and I did a couple of smaller ones with this on this watercolor paper, taking it in half. So I'm just like kind of playing around with it, trying to mess with the brush strokes, and I'm sure it looks very juvenile, but that's all right. And I want to start doing more of that with some of the ideas that I've done with my drawings, which I'm still doing. I did my drawing early yesterday so that I could get it out of the way in case power went out, which is still a possibility today, especially if the gusts get more intense. And I have a bunch of my instant photos. I'll show you what I'm working on with these. So I'm going to work on another zine, and I wanted to do the elements. So I went through all my instant photos, choosing ones that I felt illustrated earth, air, fire, and water. So I've got some older Polaroids, like you can't really see that one. There's a little house in there for fire. Fire. This is the only one that I have that's really literally fire, but I like that one. And then I have some, and I asked in a Facebook group that I just started a private group for some of my closer friends. And I asked about, does a sunset or a sunrise ever evoke like the element of fire to you? So I found some of my sunsets that were a little bit, had that quality to, lighting up from the sun. And I like a couple of these too, the effects that I got with it's hard to see, lens flare on these. Oh, this one is like one of my faves here too. Okay, look at all that reflection. So that's fire. And then for wind, I was doing anything that would like catch the wind or birds in flight. I like this one too, the way the clouds are moving in the sky there, more birds in flight. This was actually taken when I visited Annie in Lewis once, a couple of times. And so this is different than the sunrise photos to me with the clouds. I mean, and clouds could kind of evoke either water or wind. But to me, I was trying to pick the ones that were more airy oriented. And then just one of like curtains that would blow. And then for earth, obviously anything that was very much of the plants and the ground. I particularly like this one with the mushrooms. And some springtimey ones. And then, you know, the abundance from the earth with the persimmons, and there's a kohlrabi in there. I apologize for the way this is picking up the reflection. Oh, I like this one for earth too, with the boots and the wood and all of that. And then for water, I have a lot of the bay in the Bay Area. And this was up, I think this was up in Mendocino County here, the ocean. So there's a lot of the Pacific in here, although I did pick out some that were evoking rain as well. And also the river and fog. So that's what I've got. So I've got about 8 images of each element. And for these, unfortunately, the zines only come in one size. And I don't, so I have 24. I wouldn't mind doing 24 pages in it. That would be a good size zine. I think the last one I did was a little bit more than that. And I'll put a link below to the previous zine that I did. So if I do them 1 per page, I'm probably going to want some kind of writing with them. And so that's where it gets trickier for me. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. So that's the next blurb project I'm going to be working on for the elements there. And other than that, I have a pinhole project I need to start on. I kind of need an assistant or some other equipment for that one, for some of the pinholes I want to make. And what have I got coming up? I've got a concert a week from today. A friend's coming to town. We're going to go see a concert, and my friend's going to also work on my computers, help me with some storage issues and updating a laptop that I don't even use anymore, but I would like to have as a backup. And then the next week, I'm going to Northern Virginia for a concert up there. So that's kind of what's coming up. The garden, I don't know. The garden's getting ready to go to sleep again, but I've got everything in there to take care of it for now. It's not going to need a lot of effort until things start really falling asleep again, except for the area next to the driveway. I do need to get at that if I want to put something like bare root in, or in late fall. And other than that, I enjoyed Rebecca's latest video on the season of Lammas, and still just kind of taking stock of things and seeing what else can be done before that more internal energy of going into the darker time of the year comes up. So that's something that I'm thinking about too. Okay, I've gone on for 14 minutes now. I've seen a couple of people come and go, so thanks for watching. And I will probably try to put up a moment of Zen later, since it is Friday, and I used to do my Friday moment of Zens. So I hope you all do well. If you are in any place that's being affected by weather, stay safe and let the energies come in and move through. I did a lot of smudging yesterday, and my thought is always, may we remain strong and flexible. So, all right, bye-bye.